everyone, it's Nancy here, and I'm back with another Saturday stash dive for you. And this time I'm teamed up with Karla, and we have decided to do stamps. So I had an idea to do a kind of sunburst kind of layout. So I've just marked where my photo is going to go, so I can kind of have the sunbursts coming out of there. And I'm just using a scrap here of cardstock to rule the lines, because I don't have a ruler and they don't need to be 100% straight. I wanted to make sure that they were even. Sorry, I'm just having light issues there. So I wanted to make sure that it was even, so I could kind of do alternate colours. And this is then where I trawled through my stamp stash. I wanted to do a kind of tone on tone effect. So I've just got this Memento ink, it's a little dewdrop one, and I'm just using a selection of my stamps to stamp inside those sun rays that I had marked out. And there's not really a rhyme or reason as to what I'm doing here. I have kind of done this large element, in a kind of a third, because that's kind of what I decided to go with. Just sort of draw the eye around the page, but I'm really just stamping out kind of random places, keeping it within those sort of sunburst sort of rays as such. And I'm using a variety of stamps. I'm using some Dear Lizzie, I'm using some that came in a Scraptastic kit, I'm using some that came in Studio Calico kits. So it's a real mixed bag to stamps that I'm using, but I'm really liking this sort of tone on tone effect that I end up getting. I do put a couple of phrases in as well, and this is the final one. I did cut that out because I didn't think you'd want to watch the whole thing. In doing this, I was then going to stamp the other rays in a different colour, and I was a little bit like, okay, I'm bored now. I'm bored of stamping, I can't be doing this anymore. And so I decide to cut those out rather than kind of try and cut paper to match. I'm just cutting those rays out, and I really like how that looks. I think it makes a really cool it looks like a piece of paper that you buy with all the kind of different elements on. And it was, it was time consuming, but I really like it. So I'm really happy that I done it, and I took the time to do it. And there's a lot of stamps there that I haven't ever stamped before as well, and I've had them quite a while. So yeah, it's a really good way to use those stamps up that you kind of don't really have a use for. Like that little bird one, there's a Dear Lizzie one. I would never use that on anything else. And to be fair, there's some like the little sequin ones which are rather cool that I've used a couple of times, but yeah, a lot of those haven't even been used. So it's a really good way to just use a lot of those sort of icon stamps and stuff like that as well. And I've just pulled some papers out of my 6x6 stash that I've got on my desk. I said in a few videos ago that I'd kind of completely went through all of my 6x6 papers and literally pulled out the ones I liked, and the ones I didn't like, or I kind of had 2 or 3 in a pack, all got put into packs. I think I put them into like piles of 50, and then I just sold them at the local grub I went to for like £1 or £1.50 or whatever, just to get rid of them. There was no point hoarding them because I wasn't going to use them all, and I've kept the ones that I wanted to use. And here I've used a bit of crepe paper, I've used a bit of basic grey fresh cut, I've used some really old Amy Tangerine sketchbook, and a little bit of Fancy Pants Meology. I take out these Amy Tan Project Life cards. This is all from the Plus One collection. I didn't actually buy any of the paper from the Plus One collection. I got a few bits in kits, but when I decided to do this kind of bright background, I wasn't planning on using that bright yellow. My bestie has a little yellow bee on her necklace. It's a little necklace that I brought her. and that's going to be on. So I decided, I might use yellow. It was kind of an influence here. And I went through the Create Paper Randoms paper pad that I've been trying to use up recently, and decided to use that. And again, that pink piece of paper is from the Create Paper Randoms as well. And it's amazing just by stamping it sort of tone on tone how much you like reinvent it. So I'm just cutting out this Project Life card frame. I had saved this Project Life card because I loved it. And I don't know why, because I hadn't actually used it. So I decided to use it on this layout. And I really like the black in it. And that's when I decide to, that I'm going to ink everything up in black to make everything kind of match. I did think of using that So Much Fun on there, but that doesn't actually end up on the final layout. I do cut out that camera. Again, I love cameras and I love Amy Tangerine. I just didn't really love that camera. So I'm just going to cut that out of the Project Life card. And that is, as I said a lot, that is how I'm using my Project Life cards up now. I'm cutting them out and using them to make different elements on my page. And especially with this black element, I know that I want to ink everything up because it's just going to pull everything together. But I must say how much I love that background. And I just think it looks lovely. It reminds me of a, who was it? It was Love Elsie, like a really old, scrapping band. It's not around now. And I do have a few Love Elsie pieces of paper. And, yeah, I really, that's what it reminds me of. So I'm now I've just pulled out my Stampin' Up black ink. I do like this ink, but the only problem is water based. So I have also just brought a Memento ink because I have been doing more sort of alcohol marker colouring and stuff lately. So of course this ink is not suitable for that because it's water based. But I do normally just like my Stampin' Up inks. They're kind of like my go-to at the moment. There's a few ones that I need to kind of get colours in, but I'm still kind of going to build them up. And I think playing with my stamps and stuff more, like I've had that Memento ink for probably about 3 or 4 years. So using my stamps more, I'm going to hopefully use more ink, and I really like this tone on tone effect, so it's something I'm definitely going to do again. So I'm just using my ATG there to stick it down after I've inked the edge of it, and I'm then going to ink the edge of the background paper as well. And just using that bit where the photo is going to go, it just makes it so much easier to position because you're not kind of worrying about making everything sort of fit in place. Also, when I was going through my bits and pieces looking for my stamps, I found these felt doilies that I bought recently. I did include them in a rack giveaway that I was doing, and I bought myself a set and hadn't actually used them, so I found them while going through my stamps, and it's kind of like a dark charcoal grey. My video did just skip there, so I do apologise. And so I've just cut that doily in half. And now I'm looking at the different things I've got to lay on here. I've pulled out those mushrooms from a Jelly Bean Soup one. I've been trying to use that Jelly Bean Soup up, but haven't been able to. And my bestie has got a thing for mushrooms at the moment. Not like the actual mushroom, she just likes the little motif of a mushroom. So I wanted to try and use them on this layout, but I really couldn't get them to work. So I do ink them and then they just end up going back in the stash. I'm using that heart there, and that is from the Simple Stories Homespun, as is that little masonry jar. So I'm just using that to add a couple of layers there. Doesn't kind of really go with anything, but just adds a layer and works with the colours. So I did try to get those mushrooms to work, but the green was just kind of throwing it all off. It was the wrong kind of green. And again, I tried to get those little lights on, and I want to get them on a layout. I keep pulling them out, but they're just not working. So I'm just going through the Stamping Up stuff, and this is a like the extra kit that came with the Stamping Up Project Life. Little die cut cards, but I couldn't really get any of those to work. So I'm just going to stick that camera down there at the bottom. I decided I want to add a little bit to this, and I'm just pulling out this Alison Craft photo corners. They are from probably about 2 or 3 collections ago from her, and I really love them. And these are just teal with pink birds on, and so they work really well. And I've taken out these Prima stickers, and I pulled the one that says camera ready. I was going to try and put that glamorous one somewhere, but I couldn't quite get it to work. So I do end up eventually putting that one back in the pack. I can't remember what that one says, but there's another little pink one, and they're lovely because they're like epoxy, so they do look really nice on the layouts. And then I tuck a little one up there as well, I think that says darling. And again, it just adds that kind of different texture because you've got like the felt on there, and then you've got these epoxy stickers. So this is the stamps that I'm going to use for my title. Originally I was going to stamp them out on this teal of the Project Life card, but I decide that then that means I'm going to have to cut them out, and really wasn't in the mood for cutting them out. I was kind of a little bit done by stamping at this point because of all the stamping I'd done earlier, so I decided against that. And you will see me just then position them on my acrylic block to actually make the whole word, and I'm going to stamp directly onto my background. I know that's always a little bit risky because it could go horribly wrong. Sorry guys, yawning again there. I said it could go horribly wrong, but I decided to be brave and just go for it. Of course that does mean some of the letters I don't have doubles of, so I am going to have to kind of fuss about with that. And I believe these are Jenny Bolan ones. I can't even remember where I got them. I think they were in the sale and I got them somewhere. But they are a really nice alphabet, and I really do like using them. And so I decided to stamp along my sort of sun rays that I've got there. And I'm just using the black ink to, you know, pick up the same, you know, the black inking I've done everywhere else. So the first sort of word in is my title is like car selfie. And I've spoken about it before, but me and my bestie, whenever we go out, we always have to have a car selfie. And I believe this was actually when I was driving as well. So that's quite funny. And literally, whenever I've probably got hundreds of photos of whenever we kind of take a picture, I do my kind of little pursed lips pout, and Laura does her like little beaming smile. And it's quite funny, when I was looking through like photos to print, I was like, oh my god, we always look the same, we always do the same face. So I thought that was really funny, so I just wanted to do a layout about our car selfies. So I put the words smile and fun there as well, and I really like how it looks. It is a very simple, bold graphic layout, but I really love it, and yeah, I love that paper. That I made. So I'm then pulling out some of these homemade enamel dots from Sharon, which I love, and I'm just choosing the colours that I want to use on this layout, and I decided to go with a pink, a sort of purpley pink, and a teal, and I'm just going to cluster them together in 3 different points. And as I said, I really like how these look. And I'm just using my white wet glue there to stick them down. And as I said, I love how these are bigger than normal enamel dots as well. They're really great size. So that is the layout. Here are some close-up photos. Do go and check out Karla's page. I'll leave a link below. And I'll see you all again soon. Bye!